The night was silent. The ruined planet lay in darkness, broken cities stretching out like bones of the dead. Old towers leaned sideways, their shadows long under the cold light of two moons. No wind moved here, no voices lived here, only silence. But then came a sound. The sound of boots pressing against cracked stone. A human man walked slowly through the ruins. His name was Captain Elias. He was an explorer, a traveler of forgotten worlds. His ship waited far behind him, but something had pulled him deeper into this place. He did not know why, but he felt he had to walk further. The streets looked dead, but his eyes caught something strange. A soft glow like a candle in the dark. It flickered between the broken walls. Elias froze. He checked his scanner, no sign of life. Still, the glow continued, calling him closer. He moved carefully, his hand ready on his weapon. Each step echoed in the empty ruins. The closer he came, the stronger the glow became. Finally, he reached an open courtyard. His breath caught in his chest. There, in the center of the broken stones, stood a figure. A girl. She was not human. Her skin shone faintly silver under the moonlight, her hair falling long and dark around her face. Her eyes were closed, her head bowed. Around her neck was a collar of metal, and from that collar came the glow. Strange alien symbols danced across its surface, moving like living fire. Elias felt his heart pound. She looked weak, like she had been standing there for days or years. Her hands were bound with metal cuffs, her body thin, her clothes torn. She looked like a prisoner abandoned by time itself. For a long moment, Elias could not move. He had traveled many worlds, seen many strange creatures. But this was different. There was something about the girl that pulled at him. She looked broken, fragile, yet there was quiet strength in the way she stood. He took one step closer. The girl's eyes opened. They were not the eyes of an animal or a machine. They were the eyes of someone alive, someone real. Her gaze met his, and Elias felt a wave of emotion hit him. Fear, sorrow, and hope, all mixed together. Then the collar pulsed. The glow spread out, filling the courtyard with light. Strange patterns appeared on the ground, circles and lines that looked like old writing. His scanner beeped wildly but gave no clear answer. The collar was not just a lock. It was something far more dangerous. Elias lifted his hand, signaling peace. "I won't hurt you," he said softly, though he was not sure if she could understand. The girl's lips trembled, but no words came out. She only lowered her gaze, as if ashamed. The collar's glow dimmed again, but the symbol still shifted slowly, as if alive. He stepped closer, now only a few feet away. The air around her felt heavy, charged with energy. His mind raced. Why was she here? Who had put her in chains? And why did the collar's symbols look almost familiar to him? Kneeling down, he studied the collar. The symbols moved in repeating cycles like a code. He remembered the old archives of human wars with alien races. Some records had similar signs. But this one seemed deeper, older. Elias reached out carefully. The moment his fingers brushed the metal, the collar reacted. A hum filled the air, low at first, then rising like a storm. The symbols lit brighter, burning into his eyes. He felt heat travel into his hand, but he did not let go. The collar's energy seemed to recognize him, like it had been waiting for him all this time. The girl gasped and pulled away, her eyes wide with fear. But the collar did not harm her. Instead, it shifted, loosening for a second before locking tight again. Elias pulled back, breathing hard. He realized something shocking. The collar was not only a prison, it was a key. A key that needed to be solved, unlocked, broken by someone who could read its hidden message. The girl's eyes filled with tears. She whispered something, too soft to hear. Elias leaned closer. She tried again, her voice weak, broken. "Help me," the word struck him like thunder. She could speak. She could understand. Elias looked at her with a mixture of fear and wonder. He had expected danger, maybe death in these ruins, but instead he had found something else. Someone else. The silence of the planet returned, broken only by the faint hum of the collar. Elias stood tall, his mind racing. He knew one thing. This was no ordinary discovery. This was the beginning of something far greater. Something that would test his courage, his loyalty, and his very idea of what it meant to be human. He looked once more at the girl, at the collar glowing with secrets and at the tears in her eyes. And deep inside, Elias felt the weight of destiny pressing down on him. This was only the beginning. The ruins around Elias were silent, but his heart beat like a drum. He stood in front of the alien girl, her glowing collar filling the courtyard with faint light. The symbols shifted slowly like stars moving in the night sky. He had seen many strange technologies in his life, but nothing like this. He knelt down again, staring at the collar. Each glowing sign twisted and turned, repeating in a rhythm. It was not random. It was a language, a code, and codes were something Elias understood. He pulled out his handheld scanner and aimed it at the collar, the device whirred, analyzing the shapes. The screen blinked red. Unknown pattern. Unknown source. Elias cursed under his breath. If even the scanner could not read it, this was old. Very old. The girl's eyes watched him with quiet fear. She did not move, but he could feel her trembling. She was exhausted, chained for who knows how long. Yet when his eyes met hers, he saw something deeper, something human. A plea for help, Elias whispered. I'll try. He did not know if she could understand, but her expression softened, just slightly. The symbols continued to dance. Slowly, Elias traced one with his finger in the air. He remembered the archives of ancient wars. Humans had once battled hundreds of alien races. Some used collars like these to control soldiers or prisoners. He thought back to long nights studying war records, old star maps, forgotten victories. And then, something clicked. One of the symbols looked familiar. He remembered seeing it in a ruined databank years ago. It was the mark of bondage, a symbol for slave. His stomach tightened. Was this girl a prisoner of war? Or something worse? He traced another symbol, then another. The code was telling a story layer by layer. He saw pictures in his mind. Fleets of ships burning, soldiers marching, chains binding thousands. It was a history locked inside the collar. The girl flinched when his finger brushed close to the metal again. The glow brightened, humming in warning. Elias pulled back quickly. The energy was unstable, dangerous. If he made a mistake, the collar could kill her instantly. Still, he could not stop. Curiosity and duty pushed him forward. He wanted answers. Elias turned his scanner back on and began recording the glowing symbols, sketching them into memory. Slowly, he translated a phrase. His heart sank as he read it. Victory belongs to man. He froze. The collar was not alien technology. It was human. The realization hit him like fire. The collar was built by his own kind centuries ago. It was not just a chain. It was a weapon of control, used by humans against other races. Elias's throat went dry. He looked at the girl again. She was not a monster, not an enemy. She was a victim of human conquest. Before he could think further, the collar reacted to his thoughts. The symbols glowed brighter, and a wave of light shot upward, painting the courtyard with a hologram. Elias staggered back, his weapon in hand. The air filled with images, soldiers in old human armor, warships firing down on alien cities, men cheering while alien captives were dragged in chains. The collar was a recorder of history, and now it was replaying the truth. The girl closed her eyes as if the images caused her pain. Elias watched in silence, shame twisting in his chest. Humanity had always told the story of victory, of survival against alien threats. But this showed a darker side. God, Elias whispered. What did we do? The hologram flickered, then shifted. A new image appeared, one of the girl's people. Silver-skinned, tall, proud, standing in bright cities of light. Then came the fire, the chains, the collars. And then silence, the light faded. The collar dimmed again, its glow returning to a faint pulse. Elias stood frozen, his heart pounding with the weight of what he had seen. The girl whispered something, her voice weak. Elias leaned closer. Free. She said, please. The words cut him like a blade. She wanted freedom. She deserved freedom. But the collar was dangerous. If he made the wrong move, he could kill her instantly. Elias stepped back, trying to think. The collar was a puzzle, a lock with layers of code. It could not be broken with force, it had to be solved. Slowly, carefully, one step at a time. His mind raced. He remembered old human encryption styles, how generals used to hide messages inside layers of language. This collar was no different. It was a prison built on words. He traced one more symbol. The glow shifted, brighter now. His scanner beeped again, this time in success. A code unlocked. The collar's surface changed, revealing another layer underneath. The ground shook slightly. Suddenly, another hologram appeared, different from before. Not war this time, something older. It showed a key a shape of an artifact, glowing blue, hidden deep beneath the ruins of this planet. Elias stared at it, confused. Was this the way to unlock the collar? Was this why the girl had been chained here, abandoned? He turned to her, but she only shook her head weakly, as if warning him of something he did not yet understand. The air grew cold. Elias felt the weight of eyes watching him, though the courtyard was empty. The ruins whispered with old secrets. He knew he was not just dealing with a simple prisoner. This was bigger, far bigger. The collar had given him a clue, a puzzle piece. But puzzles lead to answers, and answers always lead to danger. Elias tightened his grip on his weapon and looked again at the alien girl. He did not know her name, he did not know her story, but he knew one thing. He could not walk away now. This was only the beginning. The ruins were quiet again, but Elias's mind refused to rest. The hologram from the collar still burned in his memory. Ships, war, chains, and a blue glowing key hidden beneath the planet. He stood frozen, trying to understand what he had seen. The alien girl stared at him, her silver skin glowing faintly in the moonlight. She did not speak, but her eyes spoke louder than words. They begged him to continue, to free her, to uncover the truth. Elias swallowed hard. The collar was not only a prison. It was a library, a witness of history. Each symbol carried layers of meaning, and every layer pulled him deeper into the past. He lifted his scanner again and traced another glowing sign. The collar reacted instantly, releasing another surge of light. The air shimmered and a new hologram rose before him. This time it was not war. It was life. Bright cities of crystal towers stretched under alien suns. Skyships drifted lazily above silver rivers. The people, her people, walked proudly, their eyes shining with peace. They were builders, creators, artists. Elias felt awe stir inside him. These were not monsters, not threats. They were a great civilization. The girl's lips trembled and tears slid down her face as the images played. She was showing him her people, her home. Elias felt his chest tighten. Humanity had destroyed this. The hologram shifted again. The skies turned black. Human warships descended, engines roaring. The towers crumbled under fire. Screams filled the air, though no sound came from the hologram. Elias clenched his fists. He wanted to look away, but he could not. The next scene broke him. Rows of her people, their hands bound, their necks collared with the same glowing chains. Humans stood tall in armor, raising banners of victory. Elias's stomach turned. He had grown up hearing tales of bravery, of survival against alien attackers. But this was not survival. It was conquest. The collar pulsed harder, almost like it shared the girl's pain. Elias dropped to one knee, breathing heavily. The truth weighed down on him like stone. His ancestors had not been heroes. They had been conquerors. The girl whispered something, her voice shaking.
Slaves! We
were slaves. Elias closed his eyes. The words cut him deep. How many generations had lived and died in chains, forgotten by history? But the hologram was not done. A new figure appeared. A human general, cloaked in red armor, his face hidden by a mask. Behind him, human soldiers dragged alien prisoners forward. The general placed collars around their necks, one by one. But then something unexpected. The hologram zoomed in. A group of humans stood apart, refusing to obey. They broke ranks, throwing their weapons aside. They shielded the prisoners with their own bodies. Elias's eyes widened. Not all humans had agreed. There had been rebels, traitors to their own kind, people who saw the truth. The girl gasped softly. Her eyes met Elias's as if asking, "Which one are you?" Elias's throat was dry. He whispered, I don't know." The light flickered, then focused on the general again. His hand raised and the collars around the prisoners glowed brighter. Suddenly one figure appeared in the projection, a woman alien like the girl but older, stronger. She stood tall, even in chains. She shouted words Elias could not understand, but the collar translated them in his mind. "One day, they will break your chains. One day we will be free." The projection vanished. Darkness returned to the courtyard. Only the faint hum of the collar remained. Elias sat back, shaken. The girl's tears shimmered in the moonlight, her shoulders trembling. She whispered, "Mother," and Elias realized the woman in the hologram was her ancestor, maybe even her mother. The collar was not just a prison. It was a reminder, a warning, a memory of pain passed down through generations. Elias looked at the girl. She was young, but she carried the weight of her people on her shoulders. And now that weight pressed on him too. He wanted to help her. He wanted to rip the collar off right now. But the memory of its violent hum stopped him. If he rushed, he could kill her. The code had to be solved piece by piece, truth by truth. The girl looked at him again, her lips trembling. She spoke slowly, broken words. "You, not like them?" Her question cut deep. Elias wanted to say yes, to promise he was different. But the faces of his ancestors haunted him. He was human. He carried their blood. Did that make him guilty too? Finally, he forced the words out. "I am not them." The girl's tears fell faster, but this time her lips curled into the faintest smile. For the first time since he had seen her, hope flickered in her eyes. Elias stood tall, gripping his scanner. His hand shook, but his resolve hardened. He would finish what he had started. He would break this code no matter what it took. But in the shadows of the ruins, something shifted. A faint sound echoed, metal scraping against stone. Elias spun around, his weapon ready. The girl gasped, her eyes wide with fear. They were not alone. The collar's glow pulsed faster, almost like a heartbeat. Elias's instincts screamed. Something or someone had been watching all along. The hidden past had been revealed, but now the present was coming for them. The courtyard was no longer silent. The faint scrape of metal echoed through the ruins, sharp against the still night. Elias froze, his weapon raised, scanning the shadows. The alien girl clutched her chains, her body trembling. Her wide eyes told him everything. They were not safe, but nothing appeared. No soldiers. No machines. Just the ruins breathing in silence again. Elias's grip tightened. He had been a soldier long enough to know. Sometimes silence was more dangerous than sound. The collar around the girl's neck pulsed faster, like it was alive. It glowed in rhythm with her racing heartbeat. Elias realized the collar reacted to her fear. If she panicked, the collar could tighten, maybe even kill her. Slowly, he lowered his weapon and turned toward her. "Easy," he whispered, keeping his voice calm. "You're safe. With me." The girl shook her head. She did not believe him. Why should she? She had only known chains, war, and betrayal. But Elias could not let her drown in fear. He stepped closer, his hands open to show he meant no harm. Her eyes filled with tears. She wanted to trust him, but every muscle in her body resisted. The collar flared again, the symbols flashing bright red. Elias's heart pounded. If it locked any tighter, it might crush her throat. Without thinking, he dropped his weapon. It clattered against the stones. The sound startled her, but then she saw. He had given up his only protection. He was not her enemy. He knelt down in front of her, close enough to feel the heat of the collar. Slowly, gently, he reached for the glowing chain. His hand trembled. If he pressed the wrong mark, it could kill them both. The girl closed her eyes as if ready for death. But Elias did not press. Instead, he placed his hand lightly on the cold metal and whispered, "I will not hurt you." The collar hummed. For a moment, Elias thought it would explode. But then something unexpected happened. The glow softened. The red light faded back to blue. The girl opened her eyes. She stared at him, shocked. No soldier had ever touched the collar without violence. No one had ever treated her like more than a prisoner. For the first time, she believed. Her lips trembled, and in a weak voice she whispered, "Why, help me?" Elias hesitated. Why was he helping her? He could have walked away, returned to his ship, left the past buried. But looking into her eyes, he felt something he could not explain. Guilt. Hope. Humanity. "Because," he whispered, "you don't deserve this." The girl's tears spilled over. Slowly, as if it took every ounce of courage she had, she lifted her hand and touched his cheek. Her fingers were cold, trembling, but gentle. Elias froze. He had expected fear, even hatred. But not this. It was not a touch of an enemy. It was the touch of someone desperate for connection, desperate to believe in kindness again. The bond formed in that moment, silent, fragile, but real. The collar reacted again, but differently this time. Its glow shifted into a softer color, almost golden. Elias leaned closer, studying the new symbols that appeared. His eyes widened. They were not words of war. They were not commands. They were names. A family tree written in light. At the center was one word, her true name. He whispered it aloud, unsure if he was saying it right. "Lyra," the girl gasped. Her hand slipped from his cheek, and she stared at him with wide, shocked eyes. She had a name. She was not just a prisoner. She was Lyra. Her lips formed the word slowly. Yes, Lyra. Elias's chest tightened. For the first time, she was no longer just an alien girl. She was someone. Someone who had lost everything. But the collar was not finished. The symbols shifted again, forming warnings. Elias's scanner blinked with alarms. He read the translation quickly, his stomach sinking. Danger. Release may awaken the Watchers. The Watchers. Elias had no idea who they were, but the word alone made his blood run cold. Whoever had created this collar had prepared for the day someone would try to break it. He looked at Lyra. She stared back, her fear returning. She understood the warning too, but her eyes begged him not to stop. Elias closed his scanner and clenched his fists. He could not abandon her now. He had made a bond, a promise, even if unspoken. He would free her, but he also knew this would not be easy. The collar was more than chains, it was a beacon. Someone, somewhere, would know he was trying to break it. The ruins around him suddenly felt heavier, like eyes were watching from every shadow. He glanced at his weapon on the ground but left it there. His focus had to remain on Lyra. He touched the collar again, ignoring the heat burning his skin. The golden glow pulsed with his heartbeat. The bond between him and Lyra had changed the collar itself. It was not just responding to codes anymore. It was responding to trust. Lyra whispered something, her voice softer now, full of hope. You are not them, her words struck deep. He thought of the holograms, the human soldiers who had enslaved her people. He thought of the rebels who had stood against their own kind. Which path would he follow? Elias lifted his head and met her eyes. No, he said firmly. I am not them. For the first time, Lyra smiled. It was weak, but it was real. The collar pulsed one last time, then dimmed back to its normal glow. The danger was not gone, but for now the storm had passed. Elias stood, his resolve burning brighter than ever. He had bonded with Lyra. He had seen her pain, her history, her humanity, and now he carried her fate with his own. But in the distance, thunder rolled across the dead skies of the ruined planet. Elias looked up. It was not thunder. It was engines. The Watchers were coming. The ground shook under Elias's boots. The sound of engines rumbled across the sky, heavy and cold. He knew it was not thunder. Something was coming. Lyra's collar pulsed wildly, its glow flickering between blue and red. The alien girl trembled, clutching her chains. Her wide eyes told him she knew this sound too. The Watchers. The ancient guardians of her prison. Elias grabbed his weapon and pulled her gently toward the wall of the courtyard. Stay low, he whispered, though he doubted she understood all his words. Still, she nodded weakly, her fear clear in her eyes. The engines grew louder, then faded again. Whatever it was, it had not landed nearby. Not yet. Elias forced himself to focus. Fear could wait. Deciphering the collar could not. The golden glow from before had not disappeared. It had revealed her name, Lyra, and with it another message buried deeper inside the code. Elias activated his scanner, tracing the faint marks across the collar. Slowly, painfully, they began to rearrange. The collar released a surge of light. The courtyard filled with another hologram. Elias braced himself, but what he saw froze him in place. The image showed Earth. His Earth. It was old, centuries old, but clear enough. Human fleets filled the stars, banners raised high. They were not defending Earth. They were spreading out, taking worlds by force. Elias felt his stomach twist. Then came the voices. Not spoken aloud, but echoing through the hologram like whispers in his mind. Victory belongs to man, the stars are ours. The chains will keep us safe. Elias clenched his fists. These were the words of his ancestors burned into history. They had not fought for survival. They had fought for power. The hologram shifted. He saw Lyra's people again, proud and free in their shining cities. Then the fleets descended, bringing fire. The collars were placed around their necks, one after another. Their voices cried out in silence, their spirits broken. But then, something different. The image showed a group of humans standing apart from the armies. They tore their banners, refused their orders. Elias's chest tightened. These were the rebels, the ones who had seen the truth. The collar translated their vow into his mind. Not all men will be conquerors. Some will be guardians. Some will choose another path. Elias stared at the rebels' faces. He felt a strange connection to them, as if their defiance had survived through him. The hologram shifted again. A final scene appeared. A message hidden deep inside the collar meant for whoever would one day break its code. A man's voice filled the air, human strong, filled with regret. If you see this, then you carry our shame. We chained them. We killed their world, but we also left behind a chance, a choice. Free them, and you may bring peace. Or fail, and war will rise again. The hologram faded. The collar dimmed back to its steady glow. Elias stood frozen, his chest heavy with guilt. Tears blurred his vision before he even realized they had formed. He looked at Lyra. She had watched everything. She had seen the truth of his people, the same as him. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. Her silence was louder than screams. Finally, Elias spoke, his voice shaking. It was us. It was humans who did this. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. She whispered one broken word. Why? Elias had no answer. The shame of history pressed down on him. His people had built the chains around her neck. His people had destroyed her home. And now here she was, trapped and forgotten while humans thrived in the stars. He dropped to his knees, his weapon slipping from his hand. His tears fell freely now. He had seen battle. He had buried comrades, but nothing had ever struck him like this. Lyra reached out slowly, her hand trembling. She touched his shoulder, her silver skin cool against him. It was not forgiveness. It was not trust. It was something in between, a fragile thread of hope. Elias whispered, I will not be like them. I swear it, the collar pulsed once more. New symbols appeared, faint but clear. His scanner beeped, translating them. Final lock. Break the chain, awaken the choice. Elias's breath caught. The collar was almost undone. He was so close. But the warning still echoed in his mind. Release may awaken the watchers. He glanced at Lyra. Her tears had stopped, but her eyes burned with determination. She wanted freedom even if it meant danger. She was ready to risk everything. Engines roared again in the distance. Louder this time, closer. The watchers were coming. Elias's time was running out. He wiped his eyes and tightened his grip on the scanner. His voice was steady now, filled with resolve. Then let them come. I won't stop. Lyra watched him, and for the first time her lips curved into the faintest smile. It was not joy. It was belief. The bond between them had become something stronger. Trust. But trust would soon be tested. For when the final lock broke, the past would no longer remain hidden. And Elias knew the watchers would not let the truth rise without a fight. The revelation was not the end. It was only the beginning of a greater storm. The ruined courtyard shook as the engines drew nearer. Dust fell from broken walls and the ground trembled under Elias's boots. He raised his head to the black sky. Shadows moved above the ruined towers, dark ships circling like vultures. The watchers had arrived. Lyra's collar pulsed with violent red light, warning of danger. The chains rattled against the stone and her silver eyes filled with fear. She pressed her back against the wall, whispering words Elias could not fully understand. But her meaning was clear, they were coming for her. Elias clenched his jaw. He had seen the truth in the holograms. He had seen the crimes of his ancestors. And now the choice lay before him. Keep her chained, keep her silent, and maybe survive, or free her and face the fury of those ships above. The collar glowed brighter, releasing one last message in faint symbols. His scanner translated it slowly. Break the chain, awaken peace. Fail the code, war returns. Elias felt sweat trickle down his neck. His mind raced. He knew what it meant. If he freed Lyra, there was a chance for peace, but also a chance to awaken enemies older than he could imagine. If he failed, the collar might kill her. And if he walked away, she would remain a prisoner forever. Lyra looked at him, tears brimming in her eyes. She whispered, broken but clear, please, choose. The words hit him harder than any weapon. She was not begging for life. She was asking for trust. Elias lowered himself in front of her. He placed his hand gently on the collar, ignoring the heat that burned his skin. If I do this, he whispered, there's no going back. Lyra met his gaze, steady and unflinching. I trust. The bond between them held stronger than the chains. Elias nodded, determination flooding him. He began tracing the final sequence on the collar, his scanner whirring as it decoded the last layer. The glow brightened, symbols spinning like stars. Above, the watchers' ships descended lower. Their engines thundered, shaking the ruins. A beam of light swept across the courtyard, searching, hunting. Elias's heart pounded, but he refused to stop. His fingers moved faster, desperate to finish before they were found. The collar resisted. The last lock was not just a code, it was a test. Symbols shifted into images, battles, betrayal, choices made long ago. Elias realized it wanted more than knowledge. It wanted his decision. A voice echoed in his mind, the same one from before. Do you chain her and protect yourself? Or do you free her and risk the stars burning again? Elias's hand trembled. His ancestors had chosen chains. That was their answer. But what would his be? He looked at Lyra. She was no longer just a prisoner. She was a person with a name, with a history, with hope. Her tears, her fear, her courage, all of it had become part of him. He knew his choice. With a deep breath, Elias pressed the final symbol. The collar screamed. Light exploded outward, filling the courtyard in a blinding flash. Lyra cried out, clutching the chains as they cracked and shattered. Sparks of golden fire burst from the collar, scattering into the night sky. Then silence. The collar fell in pieces to the ground. The glow faded. Lyra collapsed forward, gasping for breath, her neck free for the first time in her life. Elias caught her in his arms. His chest burned, his skin scorched where the collar had seared him, but he didn't care. He held her close as she trembled, her tears soaking into his jacket. Above, the Watchers' ships roared in anger. Beams of light focused on the courtyard. They had seen. They knew. Elias tightened his grip on Lyra. He had made his choice. There was no turning back now. Lyra lifted her head, her silver eyes glowing faintly with new strength. She whispered one word, her voice filled with both fear and wonder. Free. Elias nodded, his voice steady. Yes, you're free. But the collar's final act was not yet done. From the broken pieces on the ground, a new hologram rose. It showed two paths, one of war, fire-consuming worlds, and one of peace, humans and aliens standing together. The message was clear. The choice had been made, but its cost was yet to come. The Watchers' ships descended lower, their weapons glowing. The ground shook with their fury. Elias raised his weapon, though he knew it would not be enough. Beside him, Lyra stood shakily, her chains broken, her spirit unbound. The night filled with tension, the air heavy with destiny. Elias whispered under his breath, more to himself than to her. If they want war, they'll have to go through me first. Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining. For the first time, she did not look like a prisoner. She looked like someone ready to fight for her own future. The engines screamed above. The shadows closed in. The Watchers were here. And the real battle was about to begin. The night sky burned with light. The Watchers' ships hovered above the ruins, their black hulls glinting under the twin moons. Beams of white fire swept across the ground, hunting. The courtyard where Elias and Lyra stood glowed with the searchlights. The collar lay broken at their feet, its shards still warm, faint golden sparks rising from the fragments. Lyra touched her bare neck with trembling fingers as if she could not believe the chains were truly gone. Her silver eyes glistened with tears. She was free, but freedom had a price. The Watchers had seen. Engines thundered as one of the ships descended lower, dust and rubble swirling around its dark form. A deep hum shook the ruins, vibrating through the stones. Elias gripped his weapon tight, his teeth clenched. He had fought battles before, but never like this. This was not war for territory. This was war for truth. Lyra stood beside him, unsteady but determined. Her chains were gone, but the fire in her eyes burned brighter than any weapon. She turned to Elias and whispered, "Together." The word struck him deep. They were no longer prisoner and rescuer. They were allies, partners. The ground trembled as a massive figure dropped from the ship. A Watcher. Its armor glowed with crimson lines, its face hidden behind a mask of steel. It stood taller than any human, its movements heavy but precise. The ground cracked beneath its steps as it marched forward. Elias raised his weapon, but his heart knew it would not be enough. The Watcher was a guardian of the old ways, a sentinel built to keep Lyra's people enslaved forever. The broken collar pulsed one last time. A golden light rose from its shards, swirling into the air. Another hologram formed, larger than before. It showed two paths, one of fire and destruction, one of light and peace. The Watcher's voice boomed like thunder, echoing across the ruins. You have broken the chain. You have awakened the choice. Humanity must decide, war or peace, Elias shouted back, his voice steady despite the fear burning inside him. Then hear me. I choose peace. I choose freedom. The Watcher's mask tilted as if studying him. Then it raised a massive weapon, humming with red energy. Lyra stepped forward. Her hands glowed faintly, golden light flowing from her skin, the energy of her people, long suppressed by the collar, now awakening. She lifted her arms and the glow grew brighter, forming a shield between them and the Watcher's weapon. The blast struck. The courtyard shook with fire, rubble exploding into the air. But the golden shield held. Lyra cried out in pain, her body trembling under the force. Elias rushed to her side, steadying her. You don't have to do this alone, he shouted. Together they stood against the Watcher. Elias fired his weapon through the shield, striking its armor. The Watcher staggered back, its mask cracking under the combined force of human steel and alien light. The golden glow spread wider, reaching the ruins around them. The hologram changed again. It no longer showed war. It showed hope. Humans and Lyra's people standing side by side, building together, healing together. The Watcher stumbled, its voice breaking. The choice is made. Its armor shattered, collapsing into dust that scattered into the night. Above, the ships roared once more. But instead of fire, their lights dimmed. Slowly, one by one, they turned and vanished into the dark sky, leaving silence behind. The ruins were still again. Only the faint crackle of broken stone remained. Elias lowered his weapon, his body trembling with exhaustion. He turned to Lyra. She stood tall now, her chains gone, her eyes shining not with fear but with strength. You're free, he whispered, his voice hoarse. Lyra looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly she smiled. It was small, fragile, but filled with more power than any victory banner. Tears burned in Elias's eyes. He had seen the shame of his people, the weight of their crimes. But now, standing here with Lyra, he felt something else, redemption. The broken collar on the ground flickered one last time. A final message glowed across its surface, translated by his scanner. True humanity is not conquest. True humanity is compassion. Elias knelt and picked up one of the collar's fragments. It was cold now, lifeless. He clenched it in his fist, a reminder of the past, a promise for the future. Lyra stepped closer, her hand resting lightly on his arm. She whispered, not chains. Not war, but peace. Elias nodded. Yes, peace. The night grew quiet again, the twin moons shining down on the ruins. The engines were gone, the Watchers defeated for now. But Elias knew this was not the end. It was the beginning of something far greater. He looked at Lyra. She looked back at him. And in that moment, a bond stronger than any chain, stronger than any weapon, bound them together. Not as prisoner and guard. Not as alien and human, but as two souls who had chosen freedom. Together they stepped out of the ruins, leaving the broken collar behind. The future was uncertain, the stars still full of danger, but Elias carried no fear. He carried hope. Because for the first time he believed the story of humanity could be rewritten, and this time it would not be written in chains.